In the quiet shadows of a family legacy, there are moments when the ties that bind us can become the very chains that hold us captive. My name is Victoria Carter, but you may call me Tori. I am 28 years old, and I once believed that my parents' home in Missoula, Montana, was a sanctuary of unconditional love. That belief was shattered at a tense family dinner when their words struck me like a physical blow. You are no longer part of this family. My mother, Eleanor, declared, her eyes cold as stone. My father, Walter, remained silent, his face a blank mask, and my brother, Maxwell, smirked in triumph. Before I could utter a single protest, they stood, pointed to the door, and exiled me into the night. The lock clicked shut behind me, rendering the key in my hand an artifact of a life I no longer possessed. My world collapsed in that moment, but from its ashes, I found a strength I never knew I had. A week later, my phone buzzed with an urgent email from a lawyer, a name I did not recognize. The subject line read, "Urgent regarding the trust of Lillian Carter." A bitter smile touched my lips. The family who had so cruelly cast me out now had a problem. And they were, through an intermediary, begging for my help. Have you ever faced betrayal from the people you trusted most? Stay with me, and I will share the story of how a young woman, stripped of everything, reclaimed her legacy and forged a new path. Growing up in Missoula meant living under the shadow of the Carter name, a legacy defined by our family's event planning business, Carter & Co. Legacy events. My mother, Eleanor, ran this empire like a general commanding an army. Every dinner conversation was a battlefield of client lists, venue logistics, and profit margins. My father, Walter, handled the finances, a quiet and compliant soldier in my mother's grand design. And then there was my brother, Maxwell, or Max, 5 years my senior, the anointed heir, who thrived in the business and soaked up my mother's praise like it was oxygen. I, however, was the outlier, the dreamer who sought refuge not in spreadsheets but in the delicate art of storytelling. I loved to write screenplays, to craft worlds and characters that spoke to my soul. To my family, this was a frivolous waste of time. You need a real job. My mother would snap, her eyes a cold rebuke. Max would taunt me, saying, "Keep dreaming, Tori, but don't expect a paycheck." Even my father, a man of few words, would mutter, "The business is what keeps us afloat." Their words were a constant sting, but I persevered, submitting my first script to a local studio, only to face a crushing rejection. The rejection itself was nothing compared to the laughter I endured at our dinner table. The only person who ever truly saw me was my grandmother, Lillian Carter. She was a woman of profound wisdom and quiet strength. She would sit with me on her porch. Her hands, though wrinkled, were steady as she taught me the power of dialogue. "Your stories matter, Tori," she would say, her eyes bright with a belief that no one else in my family possessed. We would spend hours dissecting old movies, analyzing every line, every twist. In the margins of my scripts, she would write in her neat, encouraging cursive, "Keep going, no matter what they say." Her belief was my lifeline, the one constant in a sea of doubt. Grandma Lillian passed away 2 years ago, and her absence left a void that nothing could fill. Yet the pressure from my family only intensified. The business was everything to them, our legacy. I, the black sheep, was expected to fall in line. I tried. I sat through meetings, my mind 1,000 miles away, crafting scenes about characters fighting for their freedom. I would sneak off to my room, typing furiously late into the night, but their voices echoed through the walls, a symphony of client calls, event plans, and my brother's smug laughter. I felt like an alien in my own home. I started to doubt myself, to wonder if my dreams were just childish fantasies. But then I would remember Grandma Lillian's voice and her belief in me, a belief that felt like the only thing holding me together. That dinner changed everything. I sat across from my parents, my brother smirking beside them. The air was thick with unspoken expectations. "Tori," my mother began, her voice a polished blade, "we need to discuss your future. You're part of this family, and it's time you acted like it." I knew what was coming, another lecture about joining the family business. But this time, I was done. "I am not giving up my screenwriting," I said, my voice steady. "It is what I love." My mother's eyes narrowed. "Love doesn't pay the bills. We have built something real, and you are throwing it all away for a fantasy. I stood my ground. It's not a fantasy. And I'm good at it. I'm pitching scripts, I'm getting feedback. Max cut me off with a cruel laugh. Feedback? You mean rejections. Face it, Tori. You're not cut out for it. I turned to my silent father. Dad, you know how hard I've worked. Why won't you support me? He looked away, his jaw tight. My mother stood, her chair scraping the floor. This is your home, Tori, but only if you are part of this family. If you choose this nonsense over us, you're out. My world came to a halt. What are you saying? I whispered, my voice trembling. My mother's face was a stone mask. You are no longer part of this family. Get out. Max folded his arms, a victorious smirk on his face. My father just stared at his plate. I stumbled from the house, the cold night air a shock to my system. I banged on the door shouting, but there was only silence. They had changed the locks. My entire life had been unceremoniously taken from me. I checked into a cheap motel, my mind in a spiral. I scrolled through my banking app, hoping to figure out my next move. That's when I saw my emergency savings account, shared with Max, was empty. $1,000 gone. I called the bank, my hands shaking. The funds were withdrawn yesterday by Maxwell Carter. My brother, in his final act of betrayal, had taken everything. My home, my family, my savings, all gone. All that was left was my laptop and my most recent script. A week later, the urgent email arrived. It was from a lawyer, Robert Kane, who managed a trust for my late grandmother, Lillian. You are entitled to assets under a trust established by Lillian Carter. Please contact me immediately. The words were a lifeline in the darkness. I called him, my voice trembling. Your grandmother set up a trust for you before she passed. He said, his voice calm but firm. It guarantees your right to stay in the family home and provides funds for your screenwriting career. I nearly dropped the phone. The family home they had just locked me out of. And money for my writing. The trust documents arrived, and with them, a sealed letter from my grandmother. I tore it open, tears stinging my eyes. My dearest Tori, it began. I have always known your heart belongs to your stories. This trust is my way of protecting you from those who do not understand. They will try to control you, but you are stronger than their doubts. The house is yours to claim, and the funds are for your dreams. Do not let them take that from you. I clutched the letter, her words a beacon of light. She had seen this coming. My mother's demands, my father's silence, Max's betrayal. She had planned this shield to protect me. Robert explained that my parents had been notified of the trust when Grandma Lillian passed, but they had ignored its terms. My being locked out had triggered an automatic legal review. They knew, and they still kicked me out. The meeting room felt like a battlefield. I sat across from my mother, father, and brother, their faces a mix of defiance and unease. Robert, the lawyer, stood at the head of the table. We are here to address the Florence Walsh Trust and its mismanagement, he said, his voice steady. The trust was established to ensure Victoria's right to the family home and funds for her screenwriting career. Yet, the $150,000 was withdrawn without her consent and used to upgrade Carter & Co. Legacy events, Max scoffed. That's a lie, he blustered. The company needed those funds. My anger flared. You took my savings too, Max? $1,000 gone. And now this. He shifted uncomfortably, saying nothing. Robert continued, laying out bank records and financial statements. My mother's face paled as he revealed the transactions that proved their violation of the trust. We thought we were doing what was best for the family. My father muttered, his voice low and defeated. No, Dad, I replied, my voice breaking. You did what was best for you. I stood up, my voice firm and resolute. I am done with this family. I want the apartment in Missoula that the trust allows. I'll take the funds my grandmother left for my writing, and we are through. My mother gasped. You can't just walk away. But I held her gaze. You walked away first when you locked that door. Robert nodded. Victoria's proposal aligns with the trust's terms. The apartment's deed will be transferred, and the funds will be released to her. You will also face an audit for the $150,000 misappropriated from the trust. Repayment may be required. Max's smirk vanished. and my mother's face went white. My father, defeated, just stared at his hands. I looked at them one last time, a mix of triumph and sorrow swirling within me. You could have supported me, I said, my voice barely a whisper. Instead, you stole from me. I turned and walked out, no longer looking back. 2 weeks later, the legal documents were signed. Robert Kane called to confirm that the trust had finalized the transfer of a small Missoula apartment to my name. It was a victory, but a bittersweet one. I stood in the empty apartment, sunlight streaming through the windows, a set of keys in my hand. This was mine. No more hotel rooms, no more locked doors. I set my laptop on the kitchen counter, imagining late nights writing scripts without my mother's lectures or my brother's sneers. The Carter & Co. Legacy Events empire was crumbling under the fallout. The audit was moving forward, and clients, wary of the scandal, began to pull out. Their reputation was in tatters. I blocked their numbers, unwilling to receive their veiled attempts at reconciliation or their bitter accusations. My father's silence was the most painful part of all. But I didn't want their apologies. My grandmother had given me a way out, and I was taking it. The words flowed easier now, unburdened by the weight of family expectations. I wrote about a woman rebuilding her life after betrayal, her strength growing with every step. Months passed, and my world grew brighter. The apartment became my sanctuary, its walls lined with notes for my latest script. My work had heart, and it was noticed. I was selected for a talent development program at the Missoula Film Collective, where I met Levi Carter, a young director with a keen eye for character, and Tara Nguyen, a producer who believed in my potential. They were my chosen family, the kind that lifts you up and values your work without demanding you change. With their support, I wrote a new script, and together we secured a small grant to fund a short film. Watching my words come to life on set, I felt a surge of pride, a deep sense of purpose. This was what I had fought for. The trust gave me freedom, but the greatest lesson was a gift from my grandmother. My value did not come from my family's approval, but from within. From the stories I told, the work I did, and the people I chose to keep close. My father, my mother, and my brother had lost control, but I had gained my life. I was not running from my past anymore. I was building a future, on my own terms. My story isn't finished, but for the first time, I am writing the ending myself. If you are facing a similar struggle, know that you are stronger than you think. You do not have to stay in a place that diminishes you. What would you do? Have you ever had to choose yourself over family? Drop a comment below and share your story.